This is Snowed In at Christmas. Christmas Tree, Pennsylvania Sweet Romcom Short Reads, Book 4. Written by Jessie Gussman. Performed by Jay Dyess. Episode 2. Chapter 6. Luke. I walk in behind Allison, and my overriding feeling is curiosity about her. I'm annoyed at this interruption to my schedule. I had hoped to convince the people I was going to meet to commercialize their lodge in a big way. It will be good for my company, if they hire me to do it, of course. But Allison doesn't seem to be the slightest bit upset that she's not getting to go where she wants to. Does she not work? Does she not have responsibilities? And, honestly, I admire her calm, unruffled demeanor. I kind of wish I was more like that. She's also cheerful, and as we approach the desk, she holds out her hand.
I never introduced myself. It seems like if we're going to be snowed in here for a while, you should know that I'm Allison, and I'm happy to be here.
The older lady looks surprised. I think she's expecting us to be annoyed and short with her. After all, not only are we stuck here, but we have to share a room.
That's very nice,
the lady says.
My name is Judy, and my husband has kept this place up for years, but he's mostly bedridden now. Hospice has been coming in for 18 months, and no one has much hope that he's going to all of a sudden jump up and walk again. Age just catches up with you, I guess.
I can tell Allison feels bad about that because her sympathy is written all over her face.
That's so hard. And you're doing this all yourself.
Obviously, that explains why there's only one room available. Miss Judy nods, and then it's clear she tries to put on a brave smile.
Even the income from one room will help. I'm just trying to hold on until he passes. Then I suppose I'll sell it, although it's going to be hard. We have so many memories here.
She shakes her head.
Once you two get settled in your room, you'll have to come back to the kitchen area and have supper with us.
The lady looks around.
Actually, we can do it here in the breakfast area. The tree is up, I just haven't gotten it decorated yet. It's hard taking care of an invalid, especially since I'm not in the best of shape myself.
I can help decorate it for you, Allison offers. I want to roll my eyes. But then guilt tightens my throat as I realize I should jump into that too. What else am I going to do? I suppose I could take my laptop somewhere and get some work done on it, but it's the Christmas season. I'm not supposed to be a complete Scrooge. I can help with that too, I say, and to my surprise, the words don't sound as grudging as I feel. Allison has obviously formed some opinions about me, because my words cause her to turn her head in surprise. I want to be offended at her challenge, like this is the way I was all along. Maybe it's the way I want to be. Maybe I've become too focused on being successful in my business, and I haven't given as much thought to helping others as I should. And Judy seems like the kind of person who definitely could use some help.
I'll take you both up on it. Not that I'm expecting a rush for Christmas, but it will be nice to have a little bit of cheer in here. Sometimes it gets depressing.
Judy sounds sad, and Allison reaches across the counter and puts a hand over top of her older, gnarled one that sits on top of the ledger.
We'll make it cheerful. I never travel anywhere without hot chocolate, so we'll have that at least. And I think we might be able to find some Christmas music, too. It'll be a beautiful evening.
I want to roll my eyes, but then part of me thinks back to my childhood and how much I always enjoyed sitting in front of the Christmas tree, drinking hot chocolate, or sitting under the Christmas tree, playing with trucks and toys. It was probably after Christmas if I was already playing with toys, but just the happy memories of having the family together, listening to Christmas music, and just feeling that warmth and cheer that seems to pervade the season.
That sounds fantastic. Let me get you guys checked in, and then I'll check on supper. I have it in the crock pot.
Allison nods, and the lady scribbles in her notebook, then takes both of our payments. I balk a little with this, because it does seem a little bit wrong for her to take full payment when neither one of us are getting a full room. But my more human side kicks in, and I remember that this lady could use the money, and I have it to spare. Why not give it to her? Allison has waited for me, and as I thank Judy in turn, she's standing there with her bags. We start down the hall together, and she says,
I didn't think it was fair for me to get in the room before you. After all, you were here first. You should get to choose which bed you want and anything else there is to split in the room.
You can choose, I say, not needing to see the room. Even though we're standing in front of the door and I have my key in my hand. It's an actual key, not a card, not anything that gets scanned.
No, I insist. I appreciate your generosity.
Her words make that guilty feeling that I've been flirting with all night kick in hard. I'm not generous, and the thought doesn't sit well all of a sudden. Chapter 7. Allison.
I know Luke is not happy with our situation, and I'm doing everything I can to try to make it a little bit more palatable for him. I really appreciate him sharing his room, and my heart has gone out to Judy. Her life must be so difficult and dreary. If we can spread a little bit of Christmas cheer, I definitely want to do it. I feel bad that I've kind of dragged Luke into this, though. He uses the key and opens the door, and to my surprise, the room doesn't smell as musty as I expected. I figured it would be drab and dreary as well, but it seems like this is the room that they fixed up. I wasn't expecting this, I say, knowing that my voice sounds relieved and happy.
I thought we would be sleeping in a dump,
Luke says, and I think there's a bit of humor in his voice. Yes, bedbugs had gone through my mind more than once. He laughs outright.
Mine too.
He flips the lights on, and we see the room has been decorated in a soft blue color. It feels relaxing and inviting. The beds are made, and soft, fluffy pillows line the headboards. A gauzy white curtain covers the window, and as I peek in the bathroom, I see a tile shower and a modern-looking vanity. The floor is spotless, I find, as I flip the light on. Wow, this is amazing, I say, really shocked.
I feel bad. I wasn't exactly thinking terrible thoughts about Judy, but I really had zero expectations that the room would be the slightest bit comfortable.
Same. And I had resigned myself to sleeping in a bed that I wasn't sure was clean and disinfecting everything I own when I get home.
Yeah, I was for sure having thoughts of disinfectant,
Luke says, and then our eyes meet and we're grinning at each other. This was such a happy surprise that I think we both are having trouble containing our happiness. Okay, which bed would you like? I ask, looking at the beds. Even though this is technically an inn, The beds are situated like a normal hotel room, both of them against the wall, one closer to the window, one closer to the door in the bathroom.
I'll take the closer bed, unless you want it.
I assume it truly doesn't matter to Luke, so I nod. That's fine. I always like the bed closer to the window.
Then that's perfect, because I like the one closest to the bathroom.
I give him an odd look, because I think it's pretty much the first thing that the two of us have agreed on easily. He seems like he's the total opposite of me. I don't mind being around people who are the opposite of me. You learn things from people who aren't the same as you, and they can bolster your weaknesses.
You know, I don't think I introduced myself to you,
Luke says.
And our previous interactions feel like they might have been on the wrong foot a bit.
To my surprise, he holds out a hand.
I'm Luke Jolly, and I'm pleased to meet you.
I'm Allison, and I'm pleased to meet you as well, I say, taking his hand and feeling a little bemused as we shake.
I mean, you've talked to my mom, so you know me a little better than I know you.
I'll be calling my mom later, and you're welcome to talk to her if you'd like. But I think, for now, I'd really like to set my stuff down, use the restroom, and see what I can do to help Miss Judy. I feel like she could really use a little bit of encouragement, and decorating for Christmas is probably the way to go.
You know all the decorations have to be taken down.
That's a great point. I'll offer to come back after Christmas and take them down. I hadn't even thought about that. Thanks. I say, thinking again to myself that opposite personalities are often mutually beneficial. After all, I don't think I'd have given a thought to taking the decorations down if he hadn't mentioned it. Of course, from the look on his face, he wasn't thinking for 1 second about coming back and taking the decorations down. Once I said I was, I see the flash of guilt, and he closes his eyes for just a moment, as though he's resigned to doing what he has to do. I manage not to laugh. Then, like I thought was going to happen, he says,
We'll have to make it a day. I'll come back and help as well.
I nod and say, I bet Miss Judy will appreciate that. I walk to the end of the room and set my things on the other side of my bed. There is a small lamp there, and I turn it on so there will be some light in the room when we get back.
Were you traveling for business?
Luke says as he adjusts his traveling bag as well. Kind of. My family is originally from Christmas Tree, which is a town not far from here.
That's where I was heading, but I don't live there.
Neat. I wonder what he's going there for, but he doesn't say anything else, and so I continue. My family owns a business in Baltimore, and we kind of migrated up there over the last dozen or so years, but my brother bought a house in Christmas Tree, and my other brother has started using it as his business base. And then my parents bought a lodge, and I guess I'd rather be in Christmas Tree with my family than in Baltimore by myself, although I definitely prefer the small-town atmosphere. Believe it or not, I have more friends in Christmas Tree than I do in the city.
I can believe that. I grew up in Philly, and sometimes you can feel alone in the middle of a whole lot of people. Chapter 8. Luke. I do love living in the city, and maybe I've looked down on people from the country, thinking they're not as good or as smart or as sophisticated, maybe. But there is a different kind of intelligence, a social intelligence. I'm not sure, but whatever it was that made Allison offer to help Judy, to see a need and to step in immediately with something that she was able to do to fulfill it, It happens in a small town, but doesn't happen as much in the city. At least, not that I've experienced.
I experienced that in Baltimore as well. There were a lot of people around, but I've never felt more lonely than I have at times there. Not all the time. It's a great city, and I love it, but small towns are better, hands down.
All right. I guess I'll have to take your word for that. I've never lived in a small town. I grew up in Philadelphia. We're both ready to go, but we're standing here talking, and neither one of us makes a move toward the door. She's different and interesting, and I find myself wanting to know more about her.
Wow, Philadelphia is a whole different world from the rest of Pennsylvania. I've been there a few times, and I was always happy to leave. No offense to your hometown.
It doesn't really feel like a hometown. I definitely consider it the place I grew up, but town just doesn't describe it. She nods.
So, what business were you traveling on?
Did I tell her I was traveling on business? Or did she just assume that I was since I said I didn't live in Christmas Tree and that was where I was going? I'm not sure. I suppose it doesn't matter. If she guessed, it was a good guess. I'm going there to meet some people about commercializing their business a little more. That's what I specialize in, making businesses profitable and successful. I'm a bit of a consultant, but more hands-on than that. I started the company myself.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Are you good at it?
She asks this question like she believes I'm going to tell the truth. That's refreshing. Most of the time, people are very skeptical about what I say, and I find myself being the same about them. Like, lying is so common that we just assume the other person is doing it. We're just trying to figure out to what extent. That's not a very nice way to live. I like Allison's trusting way better, although I know it can lead to a lot of heartache for her. I like to think I am, I finally say, realizing I paused longer than I should have. What do you do? I ask, knowing that I probably should have talked a little more about my business, because it is a huge part of my life, but her question threw me off. Her attitude, the whole way that she approaches life is just so different.
I'm a little bit of a business consultant. I do have a business degree, but I mostly work for my brother, who has a large business, and I do whatever he needs me to. I'm that person,
she says with a little smile. I can believe it. I can see her being good at a lot of different things, making people feel at ease, discussing everything and anything, and she seems like she would be very loyal as well. I'd love to have someone like her on my team. And what do you do for fun? I ask.
Well, I love spending time in Christmas Tree. It's just such a sweet, quaint town. There is ice skating and a few ski resorts scattered around, not too far away. Winter activities are awesome, but there's also kayaking and boating in the summer. It's not far from a lake, and we get tourists in all 4 seasons. You talk about that like it's your town. I take it you're on board with the move back from Baltimore? I am. I'm ready to leave the city. I suppose it was nice to go there and see what I was missing, but there's nothing there, and less, actually, than there is in a small town. And in Christmas Tree in particular. I suppose the convenience of going to stores is probably the only thing that we'll really miss, and honestly, it wouldn't hurt me to shop a little less.
It probably wouldn't hurt anyone to shop a little less, I say. I swallow. She is intriguing and appealing, but I don't know whether this is a relationship that I want to try to pursue. Maybe I need to think about that. Are you ready to go? I say, thinking that it probably would be best for us to get out and do something. Maybe we can talk while we're working, and I can try to figure out if she might be interested in the same. Because I'm pretty sure that if I have the opportunity to be with someone like Allison, I should jump on it. She's just that kind of girl. She nods, gives me a little smile, one that I'm getting used to and looking forward to, and then walks out the door ahead of me. I think tonight is going to be a very interesting night. Chapter 9. Allison.
I feel like Luke is letting down his guard a bit. Like maybe he believes me when I tell him that I'm the kind of person who doesn't play games and who is sincere and honest. I get the feeling that he's used to working with the exact opposite kind of people, which I find sad, but that's the way life is for a lot of people. Our country doesn't have the moral foundation that it used to, and it's obvious. I wonder if there are ulterior motives for taking the Bible and prayer out of school, but one of the huge effects is that we're raising up generations of children who have no reason to be honest or moral because they don't believe there's a God they will be held accountable to. It's hard to get people on board with doing right just because it's right. After all, it's far easier to lie and cheat and put yourself first than it is to live your life for others, especially when you don't think you're going to get anything out of it. Is that the only reason I do right? Because I think eventually I'm going to get something out of it, even if it's not until I get to heaven? The question makes me a little uncomfortable. I don't want to be that kind of person. I want to be the kind of person who does right because I know it's right. Interesting that Luke seems to be the person who has made me think along these lines. I like to be around people who challenge me to be better. Not in a difficult, I could never rise to their standards way, but in the kind of way that makes me examine myself and makes me want to be better. Luke does this somehow. I don't know about you, but I'm starving, I say as we walk back to the entrance and past the front desk. Miss Judy has the lights on in the eating area, and the Christmas tree looks especially sad, with no decorations on it at all.
That smells good. I'm starving as well. I can't believe you haven't heard my stomach growling.
I look over at him, wondering if his stomach has ever done anything that he hasn't allowed it to do. He seems like the kind of guy who is in charge of the area around him and doesn't allow anything to happen without his consent. He reminds me a little bit of my older brother, Samuel. I think that's the kind of personality that makes for a successful business person, someone who's not afraid to be in charge and give orders. But I do know that Samuel's personality is better when it's softened a little, and the girl that he's with, Lucy, has softened him in the very best kind of way. It's interesting how when two people get together, they're happier than they were apart. Just being with someone who makes them a better person. I'm afraid I will never find someone like that. I have two awesome brothers, and any man I meet is going to have to live up to their standards. Since I know that there are men like them in the world, I'm not going to settle for something less. Luke seems like he might fit the bill, but I don't want to go in that direction. We're just trying to get through tonight and possibly tomorrow night. I don't want to cloud the situation by acting like I might be romantically interested in him. Although I do find him attractive, which surprises me, because usually I don't find the business type that interesting. Maybe it's the beard. Definitely, I like the beard.
You got quiet all of a sudden.
Luke says as we reach the table, and I grab the plates that are stacked there and set them around. There are 4, and I assume that Judy's husband is going to be joining us. I'm sorry, I was thinking. I do not want to admit that I was thinking about how much I like his beard and that I could possibly be romantically interested in him. Definitely not the kind of thing that I want to be discussing right now. Oh, you're here, Miss Judy says, pushing the door open and standing back as an elderly gentleman using a walker comes in behind her. We are, and if there's something we can do, just let me know. I notice the crock pot is not on the table. Maybe it's too heavy for her to carry. Definitely her husband isn't going to be carrying it. I would love it if you'd carry the crock pot in, but let me introduce you to my husband first. This is Jim. Nice to meet you, Jim. I'm Allison, I say, coming over and standing in front of his walker. He has stopped and looks up at me in that slow way that older people typically do. He looks like he's a lot older than Miss Judy, maybe 15 or 20 years, but maybe illness or something else has aged him. He takes one hand deliberately off the walker and holds it out to me.
Nice to meet you, Allison. And I'm Luke.
Luke says over my shoulder, startling me. I didn't realize he was that close. I can smell his aftershave. Man, sometimes aftershave is overwhelming and it makes you want to gasp for breath. This makes me want to breathe deeply, in the very best way. I don't know what it is, but I wouldn't mind getting some of that and keeping it in my room just so I can smell it on a regular basis. It's that good. In the meantime, Luke has shaken Jim's hand, and I totally missed it, wrapped up in the scent of his aftershave and the warmth I can feel once he stands behind me. He seems solid and strong, and I resist the temptation to lean back into him.
Chapter 10. Luke. I walk over to shake Jim's hand. He seems like a nice old man, and I'm kind of interested in his story. How he came to own an inn in the middle of nowhere, and why he seems so much older than his wife. But I'm having trouble concentrating on any of that, because I'm standing closer to Allison than I ever have, and she's smaller than she seems. Maybe because her personality is so big and sunny, and she's so friendly and outgoing. But she just seems tiny and delicate as I stand next to her, and it makes me want to put my arm around her and protect her. I have never had this temptation with anyone before in my life. I'm struggling with how foreign it feels, and knowing that it is definitely not something I can act on. We end up walking in the kitchen, Allison to bring a pitcher of water back, and I grab the crock pot.
I feel like these folks have a story, and I'm kind of hoping that we get to hear it at supper. I hope that's okay with you.
Allison speaks, and she brings my thoughts back to the present. I was really hoping I could talk more to Allison. I want to know what her plans are for the holiday, for the new year, for anything. I want to know if I can be a part of them, if we have enough things in common that we could potentially be together. I have always been more attracted to women with substance. I've never been a partier, and my serious dedication to my businesses means that I haven't dated a whole lot. I don't even know if dating is what I want. It seems so empty and meaningless. But that seems to be what our society does, and I've never really questioned it. But I'd rather just spend time with her. If that means dating, then so be it. I'm interested in their story too. I'm not really a human interest person, but I see this inn, and it has so much potential because it's around so many things that tourists would be attracted to, and it could be so profitable. But instead, it's just wasting away. I guess I'd like to know if it was ever profitable in the past.
Maybe we'll find that out. I can make sure I ask about it,
Allison says as she holds the pitcher of water and waits for me to unplug the crock pot and grab it by the handles. Miss Judy has already carried the scooper in, and Allison pushes the door and holds it for me while I walk through. We set our things down, and Miss Judy asks me to put food on everyone's plate while Allison fills the glasses up. Miss Judy helps Jim get settled in his seat. As I finish and sit down, she says to me,
"Would you say the blessing, please?"
I was raised as a Christian, but I admit it's been a while since I've spent much time with the Lord. I certainly am not comfortable praying out loud in front of people, and I normally don't have a problem saying no. It's something I've learned that successful people often have to do. You have to say no to the lesser things so you can say yes to the better things. But praying seems to be one of the better things, although I think it's more the look in Allison's eyes as she looks at me with a type of expectancy on her face that I do not want to disappoint. So I nod and say yes, and then bow my head. Before I say anything out loud, I say a short prayer of my own. Lord, I haven't talked to you too much lately, but I'd really appreciate it if you can manage to help me say this prayer and not sound stupid. Let's pray, I say, and then I take a breath. Lord, thank you for this food. Thank you for the hands that prepared it. Thank you for Judy and Jim and for the room they had for us. It's a much nicer room than the stable your son was born in all those years ago. Help us to appreciate what we have, and thank you for the safety in getting here. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. I lift my head, and I know I shouldn't, but my eyes immediately go to Allison, as though trying to gauge her reaction over what I just did. I was talking to the Lord and not trying to impress anyone. I know that much at least. Part of the reason that I lost interest in church was because it seemed like there were so many people in church who were there to put on a big show. I didn't want to be that kind of person. They are a real turnoff to me. Still, Allison's opinion is important to me, and I want to know that I did well. She's smiling as she lifts her head, and her eyes go to mine, almost as though they're pulled to me as much as mine are pulled to her. A look passes between us, and I'm not sure what it means, but it makes me feel good, like we're on the same page. And not that I passed some kind of test exactly, but my question of whether or not there's enough between us for us to have a relationship seems to be settled. I think the answer is yes. We start to eat, and Allison says,
"Luke and I were talking about the history of the inn and wondering about it. We were hoping you could tell us how long you've had it and your story surrounding it." "We can do better than that. We've got all the newspaper clippings from years gone by. It was quite a place at one time. Jim did it all."
Hi, this is Jay, and thanks for listening. If you're ready for another great Jessie Gussman audiobook, here's one we think you might like. Or check out our latest releases. Don't forget to subscribe to Say with Jay, give this video a thumbs up, and tell us what you liked in the comments.